Welcome back to another episode of 40 Facts About the 40K Universe. I am your host, Gershwin, and you are watching One Mind Syndicate. Today we continue talking about Space Marines as we see the incredible team-up of the White Scars and the Raven Guard against the traitorous Alpha Legion. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. We post Warhammer 40K content every single day, and if you enjoy our content, thank our patrons on Patreon. Link in the description if you want to support. With that said, let's get into 40 facts on the hunt for Voldorius. At the Centennial Feast in celebration of his ascension, Kublai, the Great Khan, the chapter master of the White Scars, announced his intention to bring to justice one of the greatest foes ever to have opposed the chapter, Kurnax Voldorius, known to the White Scars as Bladespite. He was a demon prince and war leader, or strike master of the renegade Alpha Legion Space Marines, and as vile of a foe as any the White Scars had ever fought. Trillions of men and women had died when Voldorius had unleashed the merciless horrors of the Blood Tide some 2,000 years earlier, and billions more had perished in a sacrilegious massacre dedicated to the ruinous powers of chaos on the worlds of Kento, Loran, and Blind Hope. Now, the Great Khan declared Bladespite's triumphant reign of terror would cease. Corsaro Khan, captain of the White Scars' Third Brotherhood, the chapter's 51st Master of the Hunt, was dispatched with his company and charged to return with the Demon Prince's head, or not at all. It was a hunt to last more than a decade. Though Corsaro caught sight of his prey on the battlefields of the worlds of Zoran and Cavell, and almost came within striking distance in the choke underhives of Modana, chance always conspired to save Voldorius from his deserved fate, and so the trial finally led Corsaro Khan and his brotherhood to Quintus, a desolate imperial fortress world to the galactic south of Chogoris in the Ultima Segmentum. Quintus had only recently been one of the Imperium's chief bulwarks against the brutal Orc Empire of the Joggle Stars, but that was before the coming of Kurnax Voldorius, who had arrived with his Alpha Legion forces to discover the presence of another traitor Legion warband, this time the Night Lords, already within system. Following a necessary period of brutal readjustment, Voldorius joined both forces under his command. Through intimidation and false promises, the Demon Prince's combined warband had infiltrated and corrupted Quintus's planetary defense force, leading them to take up rebellions against the Emperor of Mankind. The White Scars found no mere warband of Chaos Space Marines on the world, but a whole planet ready to stand against them in defense of the ruinous powers as emissaries. But Corsaro would not be so easily denied his prize. Leaving their strike cruisers in the outer system, the White Scars mounted their Thunderhawk gunships. Following rigorously plotted stealth trajectories, the attack craft slipped through Quintus's defense grid and landed amongst the blasted canyons southwest of the planetary capital city of Mankara. Corsaro expected to have a battle on his hands to secure the landing zone, but he found no enemies. Rather, the unexpected allies in the shape of Captain Kaivan Shrike and his Raven Guard Third Company. Shrike had been on campaign in the Targus system when news of Quintus's fall to chaos had reached his ears. With the Targus battle zone swinging towards the victory of the Imperial forces, Shrike redeployed his own company to Quintus and had been fighting a guerrilla war against the Night Lord invaders ever since. The piloting expertise that had allowed the White Scars to make planetfall unobserved by the Quintan rebels had not been skillful enough to go unnoticed by Captain Shrike's forces. Raven Guard had mustered to meet the new arrivals. As dropships deployed the White Scar support vehicles, the two Astarte captains held a council of war, neither entirely trusting the other. The rivalry between the White Scars and the Raven Guard chapter went back many thousands of years, but both Shrike and Corsaro knew that they had little choice but to set aside their inherent differences. The Alpha Legion and their treacherous Quintan vassals were simply too numerous for one company to defeat without the aid of the other. So the Space Marines' battle plans had to be drawn accordingly. The following morning, before dawn, Shrike led his company in a surprise assault against the traitors garrisoned in the Orbital Defense Battery, some leagues west of Mankara. This was the method of war Shrike and his battle brothers had perfected against the forces of Wall Skullcrack, and within moments of the assault's beginning, the traitor forces were in disarray. A good portion of the complex was already in the Astartes' hands when Voldorius, seeing danger, dispatched half of the Alpha Legion traitor marines and much of Mankara's garrisons as reinforcements. But Shrike had drawn his plans well, as the Raven Guard captain led assault squads into the heart of the complex. His remaining forces entrenched themselves on the perimeter. So it was that Voldorius' tide of reinforcements crashed upon the bastions of the defense complex's outer fortifications, like the sea upon distant shores. The Alpha Legion's aspiring champion, directing the assault, was a canny foe, and held his deadliest troops back from the slaughter. Instead, he sent wave after wave of Chaos Cultists and traitor Planetary Defense Force troops into the guns of the Raven Guard, casually expending their worthless lives in search of a weakness to exploit. Such a weakness offered itself up when one of the bastions cracked asunder, broken by fire from Iron Soul, a massive Bandblade tank manned by the traitorous Quinton crew. Seizing this opportunity, the aspiring champion led his reserves forward. Over 300 Chaos Space Marines of the Alpha Legion and the Night Lords flung themselves at the single point in the defense. The Raven Guard stood their ground, pouring bolter fire into the oncoming horde, but their numbers were thin and the enemy ferocious. Khyven Shrike emerged from the depths of the complex to lead a counterattack, and the enemy fell back wherever the Shadow Captain fought. But little by little, the Raven Guard began to give ground. The Alpha Legion aspiring champion roared his praise to the ruinous powers and drove his men forward over the dead and dying. It was then that the White Scars struck. Before Shrike had led the assault on the orbital defense complex, the White Scars had concealed themselves in the caves of the south. Now, with the bulk of the Chaos forces strung out, the White Scars launched their attack. With a throaty roar of engines, rhinos and assault bikes broke from the shadows and sprung towards the fray. The Iron Soul was the first to feel the White Scars' wrath. Though the Bandblade's commander bellowed at his crew, the massive tank could not turn swiftly enough to engage the new threat. Corsaro's vanguard, skilled bikers all, tore through the traitors that protected the Iron Soul's flanks, never once slowing their breakneck charge. The White Scars swarmed about the adamantium monster's flanks, targeting it with meltifire and its vision slits with flamers. One by one, the Iron Soul's guns were silenced, and the bikers spurred on forward to the embattled Raven Guard, leaving only a crippled tank and the slain traitors in their rear. Dismayed by the unforeseen assault of their flank and the swift demise of the Iron Soul, the traitors fled. The Alpha Legion fought on to the last, but the White Scars were upon them. Squads of bikers swept through the ranks of the Chaos Space Marines, blades and lances flashing. More White Scars disgorged from rhinos, bolters coughing death at the foe. By the time that Shrike led the Raven Guard over the defense and into the fray, the outcome of the battle was no longer in doubt. Captain Shrike and Corsaro had no time for celebration. Voldorius and his followers still had control of the capital city of Manakara, and if given time, would be able to fortify it further. Leaving a small garrison in the orbital defense complex, the White Scars took to their rhinos and the Raven Guard to the Thunderhawk gunships. The Hive City's defenses remained a concern. Both Shrike's and Corsaro's companies had traveled light and could only carry a single Vindicator between them, the aptly named Thunderheart. Fortunately, the efficiency of Voldorius' tyrannical rule over Quintus had not extended to basic maintenance. A salvo of Hellstrike missiles from the Raven Guard's Thunderhawk and a brief pounding from the Thunderheart Demolisher Cannon brought down a sizable segment of Mankara's outer wall. Before the traitor garrisons could react, the White Scars were already in the city. Not wishing to get caught in the brawl of vicious urban warfare, the White Scars fought from their transports, exiting them only to launch lightning assaults. White Scars' bike squadrons hurled through the streets and the alleys of Mankara, swarming whatever defenses were unprepared, whittling their opponents down through attrition without granting them the slightest chance to answer in kind. As the White Scars commanded the battle at street level, Shrike's Thunderhawks deployed squad after squad of Raven Guard to the upper levels of the city's many manufactorums and basilicas. True to their specialty, the Raven Guard swiftly and silently descended upon the unprepared defenders. Beset from above and below, the heretical defenders of the traitorous Planetary Defense Force stood little chance. Many threw down their arms and begged for mercy, but there was none to be had for those who betrayed the Emperor of Mankind. At the end, only Voldorius and his personal bodyguard remained. Infused with a battle rage, the Demon Prince fought on against impossible odds. Many battle brothers fell to Voldorius' wrath that day, but the vengeance of the Space Marines would not be denied, and they pressed forward to finish their hated foe. Encircled, outnumbered, and trapped in the shadows of the Grand Cathedral of the Emperor's wisdom, Kernax Voldorius finally met his end. The Demon Prince did not fall quickly or easily to the servants of the Emperor. his bodyguard of corrupted and twisted Chaos Space Marines fought without fear. Yet the outcome was not in doubt. At last, even Voldorius' unholy strength, born of Chaos Undivided, could not prevail against the sacred determination of his Astartes enemies. Pierced and pinned to a fallen statue of the Emperor he had long ago betrayed by Shrike's talons, in perhaps the rarest instance of true poetic justice, Voldorius could not escape the vengeance of Corsaro's ancient power sword, Moonfang. With one terrible blow, the White Scars Khan cleaved the demon prince's head from his shoulders, erasing the foul stain of his existence from the material universe. A month later, with Quintus now in the firm hands of Imperial Guard forces sent from Talaran, Corsaro and Shrike exchanged their final words and went their separate ways once again. Shrike returned to the Targus battle zone to face the orcs, once more in the never-ending vigilance required to keep the Imperium's border safe. Claiming Voldorius' head as his prize, Corsaro Khan returned to a hero's welcome in the great fortress monastery of the White Scars on Chogris, known as the Palace of Kwanzaa. Kernax Voldorius' head soon joined the long line of other foes of the Emperor that lined the approach of the palace. Each captain took with him the respect of the other and the glory of a hard battle won, and perhaps the beginning of a newly reforged brotherhood between the chapter that had for so long been a rivalry. And those were 40 facts on the hunt for Voldorius. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to share it with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, whatever social media you guys use. It helps out the channel when you do so. Now, The Hunt for Voldorius is actually a novel. If you want more details on this entire thing, or if you want to go in depth into the characters, check out the novel, Black Library or whatever bookstore you might go to. But what's interesting about this whole story is that it reminds you of something, and it reminds you of the rivalry between Space Marine chapters. If you have a basic understanding of a Space Marine or of the Imperium in general, or you just read the Codex for the Space Marines and the Imperium, you tend to believe that all Space Marines fight with each other and they're friendly towards each other. But the reality is that each Space Marine chapter, especially if they are from different genetic backgrounds, tend to hold rivalries. And all of this stems from the Horus Heresy and the Great Crusade. During the Great Crusade, there was many battles that were fought, and the way that they were fought made it very the different legions had different styles of warfare. So if two legions fought with each other to like bring a world to compliance, the methods were very different. The White Scars, for example, or I'm sorry, the Space Wolves were very like in your face, whereas like someone like the Dark Angels were not, and they used like psychic powers, which the Space Wolves hated. So these rivalries stem from those events during the Great Crusade, and then during the Horus Heresy. Of course, it's civil war, so every single legion is kind of just looking at their own kind and not trusting any other Space Marine Legion because of all the traitor legions that came out. So from there, that mistrust just completely flourished and grew into something even worse as the years went on because of the autonomy of most Space Marine chapters. We have to remember that Space Marine chapter is controlled by itself. Same thing with like the Imperial Guard and the Imperial Navy. They are their own entities. They don't really work with each other. They work with each other to fight for the Imperium, but at the end of the day, they have their own hierarchies, and even more so with each chapter. Each chapter master commands his own chapter, and these rivalries from the past kind of conflict in today's time. So the fact that these two guys had an allegiance and fought to destroy the Alpha Legion is pretty cool. And if you're building your lore, keep that in mind. Whatever successor chapter your army comes from, or whatever Primarch your successor chapter comes from, there are rivalries with them. So if you want to do a successor chapter of the Space Wolves, understand that the Dark Angels are going to be your enemy, or successor chapters of the Dark Angels will more than likely, if not be your enemies, at least be they're not going to be trusted by them. So if you want to add fluff in regards to that, it's an awesome place for you to do that. But again, if you guys have any other suggestions for topics of Warhammer 40K, comment down below. If you guys enjoy our content, we have a Patreon, link in the description. It's a simple $1 a month, and it helps us create more videos for you guys. And yeah, thanks for everything, guys. I'll talk to you tomorrow. This is Gersh1 with One Mind Syndicate signing out.